The apostles gathered around Jesus and told him all that they had done and taught. He said to them, "Come away to a deserted place all by yourselves and rest a while." For many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat. And they went away in the boat to a deserted place by themselves. Now many saw them going and recognized them, and they hurried there on foot from all the towns and arrived ahead of them. As he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion for them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd, and he began to teach them many things.
These few short verses, Jenny, really need to be put into the context and linked in with what we talked about last week when we heard the 12 disciples being sent out. What's interesting, this passage picks up immediately from there, but in parenthesis is that whole horrible story of the death of John the Baptist. And it's almost as if this hasn't happened when in today's gospel reading. The apostles have had obviously a very successful outing, and are now coming back to report to Jesus. And this is now where he says, well, let's go away. Let's go and have a holiday.
It's almost like he recognises them. They're probably on some sort of high,
sure.
And yet we've also got this John the Baptist story, so it's almost like perhaps they've pushed down the grief or the anxiety about
possibly.
that, and Jesus is actually saying, well, now is actually a time when we need to go away and process some of that stuff.
Which is a very Jewish and biblical concept, isn't it? It takes us right back to the Sabbath, that we need to build into our lives regular time to regular downtime, recreation, if you like, Sabbath time, and I think that's something we need to do far more in our lives today.
It's really hard in a 24/7 society because when we can get onto that sort of treadmill, and I think also that sort of even in the church and in ministry, that sort of adrenaline stimulus, and go just from one thing to the next, and there is always going to be more to do. There are always going to be more people. I mean, just the way that this gets subverted, that the crowd sort of nips around ahead of them, and and that Jesus. It's interesting actually that Jesus doesn't rest initially. He actually reaches out to the crowds again. Yeah.
He does,
which is pretty extraordinary.
But I wonder if we should just stick with the Sabbath and this idea of going away for a little bit, and invite people who are listening to think about their own lives. And how do we build in Sabbath time, whether that's every seventh day or whether it's a time during each day or once a month, time actually for yourself and to be with God. I remember somebody once said, one sort of wise quips, that God gave us 2 ears and only 1 mouth, and therefore we should do twice as much listening as speaking. And if you think of how much we speak and how many words there are, and all this constant bombardment, even when you go out walking now, people always seem to have headphones on, don't they?
And there's something also about being in a place, I mean, Jesus here with it's really his support group in some ways, and that importance too of just having time apart when you can just be with people you trust and who support you, and friends, and it really is, even of just chilling out, but just that time to recoup, particularly after times
big
of real
events
big events or stresses, tensions,
whether they're stressful or exciting.
That's right.
As you said, the adrenaline.
And I love this, this image of Jesus, even though, I mean, it could have really gone to his head. I mean, the crowds are, his popularity, he's a real celebrity, and yet what is commented on here is his compassion. His feeling for people, just which we often saw worked out with an individual, the sheep without a shepherd, and he's willing, that's what's at the top of his mind. He's not sort of getting all carried away with the adulation.
No, and of course this passage leads into the feeding of the 5,000, which we'll pick up again next week. Although in John's version, I think most lectionaries follow that. So, I think if I was looking at this, I'd focus on the Sabbath concept, the rest concept, and this compassion, the being the shepherd, caring for people in the way that they need to be cared for.
Okay. Lots to learn there, and for us too.
Indeed.